Hello, hello. So here's what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to start making attachments and adding one piece of clay to another. So what we want for our class is that we want your design to match your plate. And so here's how we're going to go ahead and start that. On my pattern, I have my design drawn up. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've rolled out a slab of clay. That is, really it can be any thickness that you want it to be. I could also do multiple layers, like if I wanted this piece here to be thicker so it stuck out farther than these two. I could also stack pieces and make them that way. But for now I'm just going to start with that, and here's my pattern. Some of you guys might be able to totally just use your knife and freehand cut out your piece of clay. However, some of us might have a little more detailed designs. And so for the easiest thing that I've discovered that works really well is just taking a push pin and poking holes along the outline of my design. And so I'm pushing through the paper and it's going to make a little hole in the clay beneath it. And then from there it's going to make this dot to dot that I can easily take my knife and go through and cut it. So there we have my little dot outline. I'll bring that in a little closer so that you can see it. And so now what I'm going to do is I feel like, we kind of have two different knives you can use. I like to use the short blade knife when I'm working details and cutting smaller pieces of clay. So that's what I'm going to choose to use. Again, that's what works the best for me. And so I'm just going to cut in there. And I'm going to actually peel that away. And you can turn your slab of clay however it works easier for you to cut it, instead of like trying to flip your wrist and like cut at some strange angle. So feel free to like kind of move your clay as you're working with it. And then I got one little piece here left to cut off. Alright, so I've got that piece there, and sorry you can't see what I'm doing off screen here. I'm just getting my other piece cut up here. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to move that to the side. At this point, I'm going to go back to my cylinder that I had all clean and smoothed up and ready to go. I have it nice and round exactly how I want it. Again, I'm kind of analyzing if I had any little areas that, were just still a little imperfect on how I want them. That might be where I put my handle, is right here in this area. It's just a tad flat right there. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those pieces that I just cut, and I'm going to arrange them on there, just kind of set them in place. And I'm going to make sure that's exactly where I want that. Since I have my project here is three different pieces for each side of my mug. So I'm just kind of analyzing and making sure that's exactly where I want it. So I'm going to set my other piece off to the side. And this is where I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang on to that, and I'm going to use, again, I'm just going to use this straight blade on my knife, and I'm going to just very, very gently scratch into the cylinder. So I'm drawing an outline around this piece, so I know exactly where I'm going to make those score marks. I'm going to carefully lift that up so you can see that I have a little bit of an outline there now. And I would advise you to set your mug back down like that as opposed to laying it down on its side, because you're going to probably end up smashing part of your design as we work on it. So this is the side that I want up, and you can see some little pinhole marks there. I'm going to show you how to get rid of that in a little bit. But I'm going to take my scoring tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and score the back side of that. And I'm going to score, well, you know what, I'm going to flip, I'm going to use this piece here, my little curved blade. And I'm going to draw some hatching lines this way. And I'm going to go back the other direction. Some cross hatching. This is just my score lines. This will be what's holding my slip. Remember, the slip acts as the glue to hold it together. And I'm going to set that down. Again, you can use your finger to put it on there. You can use a paintbrush. Pat enough of it on there. Put it on there fairly thick. Kind of like so. Then I'm going to take it, place it right on that area that I just got done scoring, and I'm going to gently press that piece in place. Now you can see the slip is oozing out of there. If you don't see that slip oozing out of there after pressing the two pieces together, chances are it's going to dry and peel away from the cylinder, and then we kind of have a nightmare because it's not going to be fixable at that point. So you do have to kind of find that line of how much pressure to push so that you're not smashing out your design. Alright, so I think I have that on there fairly firm enough. But now I need to go back through and clean this slip up that oozed out of there, because that just is not going to look very professional in the end. So then I'm going to switch back to, I've got, again, just a little container with a little bit of water. And I'm just going to brush that slip right away. Clean my paintbrush off. Wipe it away. And wipe it away again. Okay. Now, this is fairly delicate at this moment just because I've got all that extra water on there from cleaning up the slip that oozed out. But one thing I want to advise you on is if you use the pinhole technique for transferring your design into the clay, you can keep using this technique later on during the trimester or when you're making other projects in clay. But what I need to do is those little pinhole marks from the push pin are not meant to be part of my design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently at this moment go through. I'm going to get a little more water on my finger. And I'm just very, very gently pressing to wipe away those little pinhole marks. And then it also gives me a nice little clean cut finish on the outside of my design. Okay, so what I would do from this point is I would finish putting my design on this side of my mug. And so we're going to pretend that I have that all done. And we're going to move on how to line up your design on the back side. Whoops, you see I got a little nick there that I have in my mug. I probably did that because my fingernails are a little too long. So I'll fix that. Alright, so for figuring out how to place your mug on the opposite side so it's exactly opposite of each other. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look straight down and I'm going to see where this one's at, and so I know the other one I want to be just the exact opposite side of it. So again, I'm looking straight down on it, and then I'm also going to make sure that it's the same width from the top of my mug as I place that piece on there. So that would go, just so you can kind of see, it would be something like that. Again, ideally I would have my whole design done so that you could kind of see that. But that's how you could get them to line up on both sides, is just kind of eyeballing it straight down view. Okay. Alright, that concludes this little video clip.